Hello and welcome to the CSR Journal. Today we're joined by the very gorgeous and fabulously candid Vidya Balan. Thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking with us.
My pleasure entirely.
First, I would like to understand what are the initiatives you're involved in and why are they close to your heart?
I think I've only been involved with initiatives that have meant something to me. If I'm spending any amount of time or lending my name to something, I'm very particular about the fact that I have to feel strongly about the cause. So I think there are a few areas like um, education or sanitation and hygiene, women's empowerment, of course, and nutrition. I think these are the core areas in which I have done work. Some of them have been long-term involvement, some of them have been one-off events, but they're all causes that I really believe in, that I felt could benefit, probably with my presence, hopefully. Yeah.
Today, in the CSR domain, we don't have a lot of understanding of the very definitions. We actually spoke to someone a while back, and he suggested that first, probably we should fund in understanding CSR management. That should go there first. What do you think we can do to improve the initiatives on these lines that people take on a national level?
Corporate social responsibility is a completely different ball game. But I feel we have to each have a personal responsibility. Within organizations, a lot of times, because of this mandate, they allocate a certain amount of money or, a share of their profits, or sometimes it's proceeds, sales proceeds, part of the sales proceeds go towards a certain cause, which I think is great. It's not a bad thing at all. As long as everyone is contributing. Everyone may not be able to contribute time. What is most needed is financial resources. But yes, you have to also make sure that they go into the right hands so that it can be effectively used. In that sense, maybe I think one has to look at, from my limited understanding, I think one has to look at corporate social responsibility from a slightly different angle. Like you said, maybe training and management in this area will really help, and that there should be, I think, you have to rid it of any kind of pressure of nobility. The expectation of nobility has to be taken out of the equation. I think the idea behind corporate social responsibility is that, you have a responsibility towards society which you may not be able to really fulfill by your physical presence. But, everyone can't stop doing other things and be involved in terms of giving time. But as long as you're allocating resources, and those resources have to be correctly used. So management of that could probably, I'm sure there are institutions that specialize in that.
Correct. So you believe that maybe a corporate can't always be there at the ground level, but if they just give money, you're okay with it?
Yeah, I think that is, as long as they do that. It would be nice if people are involved in some way, but I think a lot of times what ends up happening is you have this one activity, one program where all the employees are there, and it's a mandate, right? So it's mandatory for people to be there, but beyond that they're not doing anything. So I think these things should not be done under any kind of pressure. But today a lot of youth are really getting interested in giving back to society. Right from your organizations like Teach for India is largely run by the youth. There are students who are dedicating a few hours to actually go into slums and teach children from underprivileged backgrounds. So I think that is very creditable. So one would hope that more and more people get involved in bigger ways. But if not, then I think most importantly, the resources are needed and people to manage those resources.
Absolutely. Do you have a take on philanthropy that is happening in our country today?
I think I see it more and more and more. Everyone is wanting to give back. And I think social media has only help people connect the dots.
Correct.
I do think there is an increased level of awareness and wanting to do something.
Okay. So I do understand that corporates are becoming, to keep sustainability in the picture, they're becoming big CSR spenders. But that's as far as it's going, you know. We don't have the actual involvement. Do you think we should probably just rename the whole thing and probably not call it corporate social responsibility, because it's not functioning to its very core definition?
But like I said,
I understand you said that the money should be there and the individuals should take the next step. But to tell you very honestly what happens and what we see when we speak to corporates, they provide announcements. Sometimes they say, I give 10 lakhs here, 50 lakhs there, and that's as far as it goes. They never really come back to ask.
No, but in my experience, for example, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. My personal experience, and I can talk about a brand that I've been involved with, which is Nihar. Nihar, as part of corporate social responsibility, initiated a lot of programs to educate villages in UP, in Uttar Pradesh.
Correct.
And I've actually been, as brand ambassador, I've visited 2 of those villages 2 years in a row. And we initiated a certain program, and I was given, 1, feedback, and second, a quarterly report on the progress.
Okay.
So I do think that there are corporates who really take this seriously, or rather, more than seriously, they do it very genuinely.
Okay.
And then maybe there are those that don't. But it's not, it's never. I think kudos to those who take it up seriously and genuinely, and we should hope that more people join the fray.
We need more people like you around. And of course, you've been associated with the government to a very large extent. Even the government has kept a certain budget aside only to propagate and tell the individuals the very idea of what corporate social responsibility. We also call it the common man's social responsibility. How important do you think are individuals to the whole CSR aspect? And I'll come to another question which the government is again trying to fund, but the individuals are not cooperating that much. So first I'd like to understand, how important do you think are individuals to the whole
I think society is really composed of individuals, right?
Correct.
So, the reason I keep saying that as long as the resources come from corporates and we don't have too much of an expectation of time, we're fine, because I really think finally it's about the individual.
Correct.
Within organizations that keep aside a certain amount of money for a certain social cause, maybe not every one of them is getting involved, but maybe there are people who are doing things outside that area.
Okay.
In terms of I'm working with an organization that works in the area of child nutrition.
Correct.
But I actually go and teach children, in one of the schools in Dharavi on the weekends.
Okay.
Just as an example. So I know of such people, right? So I'm saying, as long as you're giving back in your own way, it's really fabulous. So I think there has to be a sense of responsibility on the part of each of us. So we have to stop saying, "Acha, wo nahi kar rahe." Either we have a problem with the system, or we even have a problem with society. But society is finally made up of all of us, and we have to really
with CSR,
be accountable.
We feel that the leadership onus is on us,
Yeah.
and we should take it forward.
Yeah.
The government recently has streamlined a lot of funds towards the cleaning of the rivers in India.
Yeah.
But if you go over there and actually see, people are still continuing with those habits. If they have tea, they'll throw the cup in that. And people are so exhausted of telling them that the onlookers have also stopped and the doers are also continuing to do it. So I think individuals also, if we put so much of importance to them, they're not giving back how much it's really expected, even after corporates and governments are funding. Like you said, it's important to fund. And that is not coming across effectively.
Yeah, because, as far as littering is concerned, it has to do with, I think, conditioning.
Okay.
We've been brought up in an atmosphere where we throw things outside our windows and balconies and homes. People spit
Yes.
from their vehicles. They may be sitting in the most plush of cars, and then they'll roll down their window and throw a banana peel or then an orange peel. So really it's about your mindset that needs to change. So I think what really is required is not just a physical act of cleaning up,
Okay.
but creating awareness.
This is the very reason I was trying to ask you. Even though we give funds, even though the corporates give funds, for example, if I have to take my office, when my boss, in the middle of the day, post lunch, my boss comes out and he'll stand quietly over there. And everyone who's talking and chatting with someone, they all become close and they'll say, bosses come, move around. So then, usually the people who are in authority, when their presence is there physically at field work, it really makes a difference. So we have it on a small scale where my boss is doing his CSR, but I'm saying this is the reason why we just don't want to give the money and finish it off. This is the very particular reason I was trying to involve corporates and tell them to come to the ground level, see what is happening. Because even if they don't say anything, that strength,
No, but
and
that's
aura said, it really makes a difference.
No, but I think the government, for example, with the Swach Bharat Abhiyaan is doing a great job. There is a great amount of awareness. Suddenly today the entire country has woken up to the need for cleanliness, to the need for building toilets, for stopping open defecation, to declare India open defecation free by 2019. So suddenly there's awareness. The practice will still take time. The infrastructure of building toilets, of providing, water, the water supply, all of that will take time. But the mindset has to change. And I think enough is happening around that. For example, the PM Swach Bharat Abhiyaan involved so many people from different walks of life, so many celebrities. And suddenly that's where you realize how important a celebrity is to a cause. Firstly, you have the Prime Minister on Twitter telling you that, we are initiating this program. That itself is inspiring. And then you have so many role models saying the same thing. Suddenly, that's the mantra you hear all over the country.
With regard to your Nirmar Bharat Yatra, I would like to touch on one very specific angle, is the menstruation that women go through. I wrote an article where sanitation is a taboo in a lot of areas. So I spoke to an NGO who, they provide sanitary pads to women. When someone just pays 500 rupees a year, which can go a very long way. It works annually for her, which was fantastic. And then, we saw stats where it's a very big taboo. So people use sand and they use ashes and, old cloths, which if they keep reusing. So what do you think can we do about this social stigma that is attached even in the remotest of areas? What do we do to stop this kind of stigma, this superstition that's, so attached to it?
I don't know how easy that's going to be, but it's not impossible. I think you have to have effective communication. Who would have thought that 5 years ago someone would actually talk about building toilets? It was taboo, but it's been spoken about enough and more. And yesterday was World Toilet Day.
Yes.
And it was trending on Twitter. It was even otherwise. I was in Calcutta and there was conversation about it. I would still say that I was amongst people who are educated and who are aware. But even amongst those people, there wasn't that awareness 5 years ago.
Okay.
So that has 3 years ago, there wasn't that awareness. Our attitude to women in general has to change. Menstruation is very natural. It's very normal. It's part of what makes a woman a woman.
Correct.
So really, if you understand that, there's nothing unhygienic about it. If there's nothing unhygienic about going to the toilet every day, there's nothing unhygienic about menstruation. There are lots of families, and not just in the remotest villages, but people who are in urban centers, in cities, in the metropolitan cities, who still believe in that women, should not visit temples at this time, should not, go to religious places, or should not, really interact with the rest of the family. Which किस ज़माने में रह रहे हैं हम? Literally, it is that. So it is shocking, but not to say that the most educated people aren't following, or perpetuating this.
That's right. I have personally heard your radio ads on Vivid Bharati for Swach Bharat, and yesterday was, of course, World Toilet Day. Are there any times where you learn of a hitch that happens on the grassroots level and people probably call you to, be the medium to solve it?
I'm in touch with lots of organizations that are
Okay.
working in the area of sanitation.
Okay.
Lots of organizations that are building toilets. There is this Australian organization called We Cant Wait.
Okay.
Okay, and they are building toilets in schools in India.
Okay.
They're from Melbourne,
Okay.
and the gentleman who I met, his name is Mark Balla. He has absolutely no, Indian connection in terms of family history or anything. But he was visiting India and he took a train ride just to experience it. He used to come here often on work, and on one of his trips he decided to take a train ride, and he met these two boys on the train who, he must have initiated some kind of conversation, and they said, we are from Dharavi, and they ended up taking him to Dharavi, to the biggest slum in Asia. And when they went to one of the schools, he was surprised to see only boys. So he said, is this a boys' school? They said, no, it's a girls' school, but girls this age don't come to school because there are no toilets. Apparently that really did something to him. So he went back home and started, collecting funds, getting in touch with organizations who were doing work in India, started actually doing research to see which schools have how many girl students and what is the dropout rate and how many loos will they need, what kind of water supply, what kind of other amenities like providing sanitary napkins and all of that. And actually for the past 3 years they've been doing that, and they've built toilets in a few schools in Maharashtra.
It's fantastic, the anecdote that you gave me of Mark, who is not even closely related to India, and he's doing so much for it. It's very commendable. I would like to understand, you were in New York also some time back. Behind the scenes, do you have the Indian community, which is a very large numbers over there? Did they try to get in touch with you to probably be a brand ambassador and probably take up some activities, or be involved in a campaign or one-time event like the way you do? Did the Indian community at large approach you?
Actually, a few years ago I'd been to New York because the Nargis Dutt Foundation was, having a fundraising dinner.
Okay.
And they were collecting money to send back to India, so that India could avail of this state-of-the-art equipment, medical equipment, to treat cancer patients.
Alright.
Because Nargis Dutt Foundation works
For cancer patients.
Yeah. So I think, there are efforts being made in that sense, and I think people who stay outside the country are even more committed to giving back to the country.
What is the vision or the kick, the inspiration that you have behind doing so much? Because on a very personal level, I find it very commendable that you've worked so much. And for corporates who make so much money, it's been made mandatory for them. You're not a corporate. What really is the inspiration behind all of this?
Nothing. I just feel that I'm very privileged, that I'm very blessed to have, to have been educated, to have had a lot of exposure in life, to have had personal financial security, and which made life much easier, which made a lot of choices a luxury for me. It wasn't a need-based choice. Also, there are things that I feel very strongly about. I feel very strongly about the way women are treated. I feel very strongly about education, because I feel education is the one big change agent. I feel very satisfied when I hear of a case of a girl from Maharashtra who decided, who told her parents that she won't get married unless she was given a portable toilet, because her in-laws' house did not have a toilet, and she didn't want any dowry.
Radio spot also.
Yeah.
Campaign also.
Yeah. No, this is a recent case from Maharashtra that happened in Banaras. Yeah. So similar things happening.
You also being a brand in yourself, do you think now that Bollywood is such a big following in our country, do you think we should increase that involvement? What would you do, to probably involve more people to increase the awareness of a lot of initiatives that really need attention?
From the Hindi film industry, I think there is a great deal of involvement, but like I said, you can't push these things. Someone has to feel it and then they go ahead and do something. But I think, this is only gaining momentum. It is, I think we've come a long way. There is a very long way to go, but then we shouldn't,
downplay ourselves.
Absolutely. We should appreciate how far we've come.
Okay. When a film probably doesn't do very well and the sheen comes off a bit, does that any activities that you do off screen, does that take a backseat anywhere? Because there are times when an actor is doing very well in the industry and his name is all over and people are wanting to endorse him, but those endorsements kind of reduce once his films are not doing well. So does the sheen come off a little bit, and does it affect you off screen? Maybe not personally, but does it happen in the...
I think it affects you more personally, more than anything else. And when you're really successful, everyone wants a part of you.
That's right.
So even in terms of these causes and all that, I think probably there are more invitations for that. But I think in my case, my past few films didn't do the way I wanted them to do. But there are causes I'm associated with.
Correct.
But yes, in terms of the sheen wearing off a little, I think you feel it has.
Or the opposite is when you become more saleable because something has worked out successfully in your favor, like a movie.
Yeah, it's both ways, right? But I do think that because it's so public, success and failure, you tend to take everything personally. With experience, you understand that yes, your position, your saleability really depends on that Friday.
To look at the films that you've done very women-centric films. You've carried the whole movie on your shoulder. Do you do it for a particular reason to try and bring out the women empowerment, to show that it's not necessarily going to be only male-dominated?
No.
Do you particularly choose your films in that manner?
No, not at all. The cause that I relentlessly work for is me. So as an actor, I don't think I'm working for any cause or I'm working to further any cause. As a star, I leverage my stardom to, make people aware of something or to help a cause benefit from it, a cause that I believe in. But as an actor, I'm extremely selfish. I would only do a film because I want to play this particular character.
Every quality that is put out of you on a personal level, you are like awestruck in everything that you work.
I should meet you every day.
Absolutely.
I'll have the biggest head. Thank you.
To come towards the end of it, I would like to understand, is there an understanding that you would want to put out to your fans about the CSR regime, minus all the jargons? What is it that we as individuals need to do to make the world a better place, especially in our country for that matter?
I think you have to just feel instinctively that you want to do your bit to make this world a better place. I don't want to just sit back and say I want a better world.
Correct.
And then blame a government or blame your country or blame society or blame the system. That's very easy. Or your family or God knows, whoever, your organization, whoever you're working with. I really think that it's time that each of us, becomes part of the change we want to see in the world.
You've been associated with a lot of activities that deal with women empowerment. And there is a wide variety of it. I've heard even of your radio spots where you're working with the 5 strong women. Is there a common link that you see in all these women empowerment oriented activities? Probably something that is slowing down the process or, dragging it down, creating regressiveness. Is there something that you see there?
I think it's our conditioning, our socialization. We've been told over centuries that men and women are not equal.
Yes.
And how much ever you try to change that, even the most successful women sometimes can't believe that they have overcome the obstacles in their way, that they are so empowered, that they don't need to really hold on to a man, that they can stand on their own 2 feet, have their own identity. I think all of this is a huge baggage that we're dealing with. This is ages of conditioning.
The question is, why do we make the man the standard, the set standard to which we have to reach?
I wonder why, but that's how it's been. Who do you want to be equal to? To someone who's
You look up.
you look up to. So invariably, because of our conditioning, we always feel that we want to be equal to the man.
In line with that, when I tell you, we have this kind of behavior at home where we say, where a child wants something, so he'll tell the mother that, I probably want to go out.
And the father, she'll
and
say,
then she says, let daddy say food.
Yeah.
So
Because
we believe that the man has the power first, and when I grow up,
To
I
decide.
will also, my wife or my sister will come and ask me.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore, when you're making that change, even a woman who today realizes that, but I don't need to ask my husband, will go through some amount of guilt.
Correct, but
And
that
it's-
shouldn't be there.
No, that shouldn't be there. But
Our
change.
conditioning in this country is like that.
Yeah,
Abroad, it is very different.
But
Very
I'm saying, as long as you're aware that, okay, I am feeling guilty because this is new behavior for me, and it's okay, it does not make me a lesser person.
Correct.
But it is new behavior that I'll have to, embrace and implement, and over time it'll become second nature.
Correct.
I think we have to constantly talk to ourselves. So even the most accomplished women go through huge challenges, I think, in this area.
I think, like, you agree, I agree, great minds think alike. You should really come and be with us. Work with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you so
Absolute
much.
pleasure.